Hello, everyone. My name is Ash, and I'm here with Conal Pierse, who is. Well, how about you explain your role at Bioware for everyone?
So I'm the lead community manager for Bioware for our Edmonton and our Austin and our Montreal studios. I run the community side of that, and the Bioware social media channels, our YouTube channel, our blog, all of that stuff kind of comes out of our team. We also do a lot of live event stuff. Like generally, we exist to help the studio get in touch with our fans and to keep our fans like excited and give them like fun things and support them in ways. One of the things we do for that, for example, is like the cosplay kits. We know we have a huge section of cosplayers out there and they do great stuff. And we're always looking for ways that we can make people's like lives easier for what they're already doing, because like we think it's great and we get a huge kick out of it. We wanted to put out these kits with like higher res renders and everything so that people can actually have a better idea of what's going on, make more accurate stuff, and make their lives easier.
So I wanted to ask, what is your background generally, like your education, like how you got started at Bioware?
Oh, I got a weird path through life. So I went to the University of Alberta up in Edmonton, where I was like born, grew up. So I'm used to all of our long, cold, dark winters. So I went to the University of Alberta and I studied genetics and psychology.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So I took a science degree, but I was like really bad at pipetting, like which is like. You have to be super accurate for lab stuff. I was really bad at that. I loved the theory. I just got like really stupid hands. I'd be like an awful surgeon, awful lab tech. So I needed something else to do. And I got into journalism from there. I was in the student newspaper at the University of Alberta, at the Gateway, which I'm going to give them a shout out. Went into journalism from there and worked at the Edmonton Journal as a crime reporter with one of the editors at, now editor of Bioware, Ben Jelena. So we worked together there. He moved on to Bioware, and a couple of years later, a job opened up on Jessica Marazin's team, on the community team. Ben sent it over my way, and I kind of looked through it, and I wasn't sure about it. So Ben took me out for dinner, and he yelled at me for like an hour straight. And then I applied for the job. I got it, and it's been great ever since. Like I love what I do.
That's awesome. That's actually a really interesting like way of getting into not getting into Bioware, but getting into the games industry in general in a completely different path in science.
I think a lot of people get into it from different ones. Like I mean, it's less so now, but there have been a number of like architects, for example, who build actual buildings who then like came into level design. And we had pulled people from that in the past at points. It's the same, like a lot of our animators come from movies or they come from other things that aren't strictly games, but they're skills that transfer over and cross over. And I think that's like an important thing for a lot of people to know about like the jobs and work, because people expect it to be like, oh, I need to just be in games. I need to be like making games the whole time. And it's like, no, you just need to have skills in the area of what you want to do. Now, you can find those in a lot of other fields. There's a lot of ways you can learn how to animate. There's a lot of ways you can learn how to design. And you can do a lot of that in your own time. And you can transfer it over. And that's kind of like, that's the way a lot of people get in. Blair was a bartender.
You're kidding.
Yeah. Blair met someone at a bar. Like, I mean, Blair is incredibly good at what he does, but that's how he got his start. Was he bartended and met one of our producers, and they were just like, got a job opening up on one of my teams. You should apply.
That's awesome. Wow. That totally like spins my head. Okay, so at Bioware, what would you say is your day-to-day? Does it change depending on where the game is at, or depending on...
Oh. Yeah, every day is different for us, which is part of what I quite like. It's always changing now. We're always looking for new things to do, and during the summer, a lot of what our day-to-day will be planning for events, like things like PAX. Kind of March through to August is event season, like is the heavier parts of it. So we do a whole lot of planning on what we're going to do, what we want to show, what we think we might be able to show, and where we're going to go. So that's what's wrapping up right now, depending on where the game is in its thing. Like right now, Dragon Age Inquisition is kind of like we're wrapping it up. It's coming to its conclusion. So this year is a lot different from last year, where we were like, we're doing demos and we're doing a lot like more focused stuff, and we have the bigger marketing beats and everything like that, and the trailer drops that, and on all of that great stuff. So Sean and I, Sean who works on my team, we kind of meet regularly with everybody in the studio.
Every single team?
Every single team. And we just look for ways that we can help them, promote them, support them. So we've worked a lot with Blair and Billy on things in multiplayer, doing the Twitch streams every day. But I think the great thing is, like, Sean and I will sit there and we'll spin our wheels on, like, what would you like? What would we want to do? What can we do? And just kind of doing pie in the sky thinking. I don't know if you saw like the videos we did with like our sound design team on like the shooting range and like the dragon video. Those came about because our sound team came to us and they said, like, you know what, like, we do a lot of good stuff, but it's hard to promote sound. And a really hard thing about promoting sound is, like, the key to good sound design is you don't notice it. It just makes the thing feel alive. And good sound design, nobody knows. Like people who don't work in sound design don't notice it at all. But bad sound design is, like, incredibly obvious, which is the unfortunate. It's the very unfortunate part of it. So they came to us and they said, we want to showcase some of our work, but we don't want it to be dry and stuffy. We don't want to necessarily be sitting there doing the Foley video where we're walking on, like, a bag of cornflakes to make, like, crunching leaves or anything. So we worked with them. We brainstormed some ideas. We came up with some weird stuff, and we put them out.
I really do like the idea behind the Bioware Base, that it's just not that everything coming from Bioware is not just a bunch of trailers and everything. It's a lot. The multiplayer video that you had recently that you released was absolutely hilarious. I had a lot of fun with that, and the one with Allegra. Yeah. And I wish. Are you going to upload the ones that we just saw at the panel?
No, those will never go out. Yeah.
Okay.
No, those were a thing just for PAX.
Oh, okay.
Because sometimes we do stuff and it we don't just like get away with whatever we want on our team. We work very closely with all the game teams, with our marketing partners, like with International and everything, to make sure that what we're doing is always promoting our like we want our fans to have fun, and but we want to make sure that what we're showing that the teams are okay with it, and that it promotes their game in a way that they like, and that it shows off things that they like. So the multiplayer thing, Blair and Billy were really great sports about that. So was Allegra. I was really happy that we actually got to do that one. And the great thing about the Bioware Base is a lot of people think that whenever we do things like this, it's just for the fans, and it is to a large extent. We do like doing things for the fans, but it's also great for our devs. Like, they love coming out here and meeting people. It's so refreshing to see the impact your work actually has on people, because it's tough making games. It can be really tough, and it's a lot of work, and there's, like any art, there's a lot of anxiety that can go with it, and, like, you can sometimes, especially if you have your hands in something for so long, all you see are your mistakes or the way it could be better. Because you know everything that cut out, and you know everything behind the scenes, and you know everything that you wanted to do and maybe couldn't because it was unrealistic or what. Like, if you've ever like painted or done anything like that, like a lot of times at the end, what you see is like where you made a wrong brush stroke. But it's great to then go out to the fans and hear people's things and find out that what you did actually did resonate in the way you wanted. Like that Dorian, that people do like this character, and they did get that great experience from him, and hearing from people who characters like Dorian are very important for them, right? Because it shows them that they are, it has a character who is like them, or who's gone through something like them, and that they aren't alone.
That they can identify with
that they can identify with it, yeah.
For sure. I was going to also ask, so whenever you're speaking with the community, it's through the Twitch streams, it's through the forums. What other different venues do you go to as far as gaining feedback from the community rather than what's officially
I read
Bioware
the
news?
entire internet. I read everything. Every day I read through all of the various video game press sites. I see what they're saying. Like, a very important part for our team is knowing what's out there. We look at what other game companies are doing, as I'm sure they look at what we do. We look at how the press is reacting. We look at how fans are reacting, and we collect that feedback and we use it to inform what we do, and also we give it to the studio and let the devs know, like, here's this, here's what people are saying here. So there's Reddit, there's the forums, there's Twitter, there's NeoGAF. I mean, a lot of it I'm a lurker for. Like, I don't necessarily post, but we're always watching.
Okay, so since I did mention the Twitch streams, I do want to ask, how do you view the Twitch streams as far as Bioware? Like, do you see them as successful or like a really good opportunity? Would you continue this for further, like, for instance, the multiplayer streams, as well as what the Keep team did before? Would you continue this for future games?
I can't comment on whether, like, future games will have streams or anything like that. I just can't, because, like, I mean, that's a thing down the line and a decision that hasn't been made.
Yeah.
We do have a lot of fun doing the streams. It is a thing that people have enjoyed out there, and, like, people tune into it. So it is, obviously we look at multiplayer and we see how it went for a multiplayer, and we look at the ones that we did around launch, which we think went really well. We got, like, way more viewers, I think, than anyone expected early in launch, and we've only gotten better at what we're doing. If you watch some of our early streams, like, there's hiccups, like anything. It's a learning process. But I think streaming is a really interesting and exciting way and a different way to engage than, say, Twitter or YouTube. And all of these different channels have different people you can reach in different ways, and we try to make sure that we aren't just only doing one. Like, we do, there's Twitter, there's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's YouTube, there is Twitch, because we want to make sure that however people like to engage with it, however they like to talk or hang out with Bioware, whether it's at PAX, whether it's online, that we give them a medium to do that.
Oh, so for the patch betas, and, like, obviously I'm not going to go into the details of the program itself, but how do you view the success of it? Did you get a lot of feedback from it? Was it extremely helpful for your team?
We did get a lot of great feedback during the patch betas. It's really tough kind of for me to talk about them, because there's a lot of things about, like, certification and other things that I just, like, I can't get into.
Yeah.
That I can't speak to. But we did have some hiccups on, like, early patches, and the patch beta was a way for us to make sure that what we were putting out was of the quality that we expect of ourselves, and that we're giving to our community, like, quality updates for patches and making sure everything works. So the patch beta program, I think, was quite successful. We had a great group of people. We heard tons of concerns, and, like, we heard tons of great feedback, and people were really, really, really helpful and really great in what they did. It was awesome for a multiplayer team, in particular, because they got to test out some things with people and hear, like, oh, okay, like, this ability might be a little overpowered, or maybe you could tweak this way. And it's great to see with, like, especially for multiplayer, to throw a bunch of people at it and see, like, how are they going to play? Because there's the way we play, and there's the way you think people might play, and we have chaos testers who go on and you try to play in ways that, are just random. But you can never match, like, it's always really interesting how people in the wild find new ways that you would never ever think of to play your game. Like, never in a million years would you think that someone would do this, and then they do it, or they make a build, for example, that you're just like, oh wow, I'd never thought, but if you chain those two things together, that's, like, crazy OP.
Just one more on the patch beta. Well, I know you can't really talk about future games or anything like that, but do you think that, like, with the way that it was handled, is there anything that you would have changed with it, or is like anything you would have like gone back and changed as far as like the beta, as far as like who was involved, like how many numbers, or like was it a good size, or the way that you got enough people to sign up for it?
We always look in anything we do. We always look back on it, and while we're doing it, after we're doing it, we make sure we look at like how things went and what we could have done better, what we really liked about it, where opportunities were to smooth it over. So we did evolve some of our intake processes during it, and how we worked with the community during it. And definitely, I can't say that whether or not we would do this again in the future, but I mean, we definitely take what we learn from everything we do. And for any future games or titles down the road, we take that knowledge and see how we can apply it.
Oh, yeah, I definitely wanted to ask this one. So moving on to more of like Bioware's territory as far as the forums. Now, the forums, it went through a change before Dragon Age came out, as far as like the way that it was moderated. Moving from the old forums to the new forums, there were a lot of different things that were implemented in kind of like the safety and also like non-harassment of those who are on the site. Is there anything that is like with the moderation teams or like the community team, anyone who is involved with the forums, are there any plans to keep that going, or being more, once Mass Effect Andromeda comes out, like being more rigorous in the moderation for it?
I can't speak kind of directly to a lot of that, but we do have a lot of, there are a number of people, myself included, who we are looking at the forums, and we're always, with anything, not just the forums, with all of our stuff that we do on the community team, whether it's the Bioware Base, whether it's our social media channels, we're always looking to improve in ways we can make things better for both developers and for fans in all of our spaces. So we are looking at things. We are looking into it and looking at ways we can develop and definitely improve. And essentially, yeah, that's all I can really say on that. Is it's not a thing that's being ignored. We are always looking for ways to improve the experience of everyone in our spaces.
For sure. The community team now, what would you say is, like, after Trespasser releases, it's a Dragon Age is going to be, like a lot of the community is going to be still playing it, and there are still going to be people doing multiplayer. What would you say is the community team's next path, like the next things to do as far as your task list for the team?
Well, for us, we're different from. So we're different in the sense that we don't just kind of set it and forget it necessarily. So I mean, it is the 20th year of BioWare. We've had 20 great years since Shattered Steel, and since it started in even before it was in the small office on White Avenue in Edmonton, and now in the bigger place where we are now. So we don't forget about Dragon Age. We're still looking at that. We still look at our older games too, and we're always looking for ways that we can promote the studio and the way that we do things at BioWare, the great work that our people are doing. Because I mean, even when we aren't necessarily talking about a game, like we're not. I can't say anything about Mass Effect Andromeda or anything. Like, I mean, you can check out the teaser trailer for now.
Sure.
So I can't really speak on that. But I mean, there's still, like, people are doing great work behind the scenes, and they have done great work in the past, and we really look for ways that we can celebrate and showcase that.
Cool. I think the last thing I have is for someone aspiring to be more part of the community or getting engaged in Dragon Age and Mass Effect or whatever IP that BioWare does, what would you suggest where to start as far as content creation, like cosplaying or anything like that?
My suggestion for anyone would be to do what interests you. If you, like, I'd say don't try to force something. If you're not a cosplayer, like, not everyone, I can't sew. and I like hot glue guns. I like are just murderous in my hands. I burn myself all the time. I'm not good at making costumes, so that's not a thing I personally do. And I think each person has their own way the fandom works for them, and I'd say find that and celebrate that. Celebrate what you like to do, because you're going to enjoy it so much more. It's going to be like it's so much more rewarding for you, and it's why spend your time. Like for instance, I love photoshopping things and like have forever, and that's how I got into like design and doing design work, was just messing around on my own time. And I think anything that you find fun to do on your own time, that's where you should go with it. Like whether it leads to career or to work, or whether it's just something that's just for you, like you'll still have fun out of it. And it's important to spend your time that way.
Any shout outs or anything you want to say hi to anyone?
I don't want to make anyone feel left out, so I'll shout out to everyone in general.
Okay.
And
so,
if anybody ever sees me around, they can always walk up and say hello.
Okay, thank you so much for
No problem.
for this interview. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for taking the time.